everyone, back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. Surprise, surprise, it's all about Dan Ashworth again. The saga continues. The constant gardener, as I've seen him referred to online. Brilliant memes going around about gardening and Dan Ashworth. Fantastic. Love the internet for things like that. Can be horrible at times, but great in some stages, and this is one of them. But yeah, so the saga continues, really. It's getting really boring, to be honest with you. I'm fed up with it. I think everyone's fed up with it. But Dan Ashworth is now officially on gardening leave. The club have released a statement saying disappointed that Dan wants to leave. It's clear that he wants to leave and go to Manchester United. But the issue that we have is that Newcastle United basically want Manchester United to stump up the cash if they want their new man to start work straight away, really, and impact them in the summer transfer window. And Manchester United don't seem to want to do that. So we're in a bit of a Mexican standoff, the two Uniteds, in terms of what we're going to do with Dan Ashworth here. Now, I'll get into the self-entitlement and complete ignorance, arrogance, and just general thickness of the Manchester United fan base in a moment. But going back to Dan Ashworth, now, Newcastle are digging their heels in here, and rightly so. You know, they paid big money to get this guy out of Brighton. We did a really good job there, did a good job at England. I don't quite know whether you can credit him with signing all these great players at Brighton. He sold them on for big money. Got to give him that. So in terms of making money, then yes, he's done a very good job. He's been credited with the England DNA. I mean, I've seen some ridiculous stuff recently saying, you know, Dan Ashworth's won 2 World Cups, the Youth World Cups. I mean, fucking get in the bin. What a load of nonsense. How many times did they get one? I remember seeing England win that years ago, and I think 3/4 of that squad fucked off and they're playing Sunday League now. So that's an absolute bullshit thing to say. But anyway, I'm off on a sidetrack. So going back to the Ashworth situation, yes, he wants to leave. Manchester United want him now because they want him to impact summer transfer windows, but Newcastle don't want to let him go. I think this reason is twofold. I'm quite proud of the club for behaving this way. Now, cast your mind back to when Newcastle United were in the shit and they needed players desperately, and we tried to loan Jesse Lingard, who at the time wasn't a complete waste of space, who ended up in South Korea playing football. He just come off the back of a really good loan spell at West Ham. He looked really good. We were all excited about possibly getting Jesse Lingard. We did a rumour hazard video on him, everything else, about what he could offer the squad. Lingard wanted to come. I think he actually went to St James's Park. He put something on social media about it. He's since come out on podcast and said how bad he felt that Manchester United wouldn't let him go to Newcastle on loan because these motherfuckers wanted a £15 million loan fee for this player from Newcastle United. They tried to fuck us. They tried to pull down our skirt and fuck us royally, and you reap what you sow, and people have long memories, and these owners will certainly remember how fucking horrendous you were back then, and they are going to treat you in the same vein when it comes to Dan Ashworth. You want this guy, you think this guy is the best guy to sort your club out, then you pay the bill. So what is Newcastle United going to do here? I think them and Manchester United will come to an agreement, and Manchester United will possibly have to pay maybe up to £10 million for Dan Ashworth. I don't think it'll be 20 million. I can't see that being the case, but I think it could be about 10 million quid. And there's another reason. This is the twofold reason that Newcastle don't want this to happen. So if Dan Ashworth has been involved in the transfer committee, which he will have been, he will have knowledge and information about the targets that we're going after. So he could possibly take that information to Manchester United. They locked them out of his computer, I think, from Sunday, which is really good. So if there is targets there that Newcastle United are looking at now with Steve Nixon and everybody else, and they're bringing some names to the table, Ashworth would be completely unaware of those targets. Now, I think that's just smart business by Newcastle United, and if football is a business now, then that's a clever thing to do. If you leave a company and you get put on gardening leave, you're not allowed to contact any of your customers and tell them that you're going to work for that new company until your gardening leave is over. It gives your company time enough to do something about it, to come up with an action plan, to go and speak to those people, and football is no different. You know, in terms of these targets that Dan Ashworth maybe been in contact with, it gives the club time to go and speak to those targets and say, listen, we still want you, you're still part of this club, manager wants you and all that, before he gets a chance to get his feet into the table at Manchester United. Now, if Manchester United don't pay the bill, Newcastle could be willing to let Dan Ashworth sit in his arse for 2 years, which I think is amazing. That just shows the level of wealth that the PIF do have, which is fantastic, to be honest with you. But I don't think that will happen. I think you'll probably pay 10 million. You'll probably be in position, and imagine, for the end of the season and the summer period for Manchester United. But going back to the Manchester United fan base, honest to God, I know we had a slow transfer window, but Jesus H. Christ, you'd think this guy invented football the way they're talking about it, how Newcastle are going to crumble and, you know, they're devastated that we're taking this great guy. No Newcastle fans devastated, mate. He's been here 18 months. Eddie Howe even came out and said this role is a long-term role. That's how you measure your success. He's only been in 18 months. He doesn't give it long enough to see the fruits of his labour. Eddie Howe doesn't look like he gives a shit. I personally think there's an issue between those two anyway. That probably explains the Lewis Hall scenario. But I think it's a case of Newcastle have decided, who do they choose between Ashworth or Howe? And it's quite simple that Howe wins out. But Ashworth clearly wants to go. This is what the guy does. And in a way, as I said in my first video about this, I don't blame him. If somebody offers you more money to do what you do for them than you're doing for the other company, you generally would take it. But I can't imagine money's a big issue for Ashworth, given the fact that he's on £1.5 million a year. He's on a good salary, but he clearly doesn't fancy being in the project anymore. Well, that's because he doesn't have enough control over the player transfers, which apparently Manchester United are going to give him more control over. Wonder how that will sit with Ten Hag. Maybe it won't sit as well with him as it didn't do with Eddie Howe, but time will tell. But going back to the Manchester United fans, honestly, the shit I've seen come out from these people is incredible. Really, saying how Newcastle think that club now and all this nonsense. And, anyone would want to come to Manchester United over Newcastle, except Alan Shearer. Utter fucking manure. It really, really is. Manchester United are a huge club. There's no doubt about that. But Manchester United are not at the top end of the table anymore. They haven't been there for a long time. The club's been in disarray behind the scenes. Even their own club legends, Gary Neville, has took them to pieces on several occasions to say how piss poor the thing is. Your star striker is blowing off matches and training, going to piss in Belfast. So they're in a state as a football club. Newcastle United are the furthest thing from that. We're unified, we're on course, we're part of a huge project that's in the making. We've come massively far in a couple of years. Yes, it's been a bit frustrating recently with the lack of injuries and the injuries and the lack of players and stuff like that, but this club is definitely on a more of an upward trajectory than Manchester United. And in the next 5 years, it'll be interesting to see which United is going to be in a better position. And will Ashworth be a reason for that, or will he be a reason for the fact that hasn't happened? Only time will tell. But some of the Manchester United fans talking out of fucking bollocks. I saw this girl mouthing off from the United stand. She doesn't even seem to know how gardening leave works, to be honest with you. She said things like Newcastle are throwing their toys out the pram and playing hardball. Like I've just said, go and look at the Jesse Lingard situation. It ain't hardball. It's one good turn deserves another. And I'm not going to go all Joey Barton and dig out female content creators, because there's some brilliant ones out there. Certainly the Newcastle fan base as well. We've had Kendall on the show before. Kendall's great. I like what Charlotte does at True Fifth. Alice Talks is brilliant. But this girl is thick as mince, and Goldbridge should go drop her back off at whatever fucking call centre he found her at, because she's dense as fuck. If you don't even understand how garden leave works, love, don't open your fucking massive gob and talk bollocks about the situation. As I said, Newcastle fans aren't arsed. Look at Brighton. Brighton have even got better since Ashworth left. The Brighton fans call him a glorified cheerleader. If he was that good, would they be saying stuff like that? I highly doubt it. So the way that people are talking about Ashworth, likes of Man United fans and Sky, credit him with signing players that he wasn't even involved in. Even at Newcastle, the likes of Bruno and Botman, which was said in the previous video, it's utter fucking bollocks. This guy seems to be this kind of media darling that all of the football media want to glorify as this unbelievable game-changing guy. And listen, he might be very good at his job, but I don't think he's as fucking important as what you lot are making him out to be. But to finish the close on this one, if you want the guy, Manchester United, pay the fucking bill. You've squandered millions on shit players over the years. 80 million on Anthony, 90 million on fucking Pogba, whatever it is. Pay the fucking 10, 15, 20 million quid that you need to pay to get this guy if you see him as that much of a vital cog in your new machine. And let's get this done with, because we're all fucking bored of it. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Ashworth scenario. Are you bothered? Are you arsed? The Manchester United fans, what do you think about their self-entitlement? Because it reeks to high heaven. These guys still think they're that club. You are not that club. You are light years away from the Fergie years. And getting this guy in ain't going to get you there overnight. Get that idea right out of your head. But smash like, subscribe, guys. Help us get that 7,000 sub mark. We're really close to it. We're over 6,600 now. So recommend us to family and friends. All free content and ever more. We'll be back with loads of content this week. More thoughts. We've got the preview and the post-match analysis from the Arsenal game, which hopefully won't be a tanking. All free content. But if you want to be a member and support the channel, there's a little bit of an option down there. Smash that. Let us know whatever you think in the comments. We always like to hear from you. Have a cracking day wherever you are, and enjoy that gardening, Dan. See you later.